Rogue One is set to reveal a lot of new and exciting ships, stormtroopers, and more to the Star Wars universe, including the U-Wing, the TIE Striker, Death Troopers, and Shore Troopers. But one concern I have with their introductions, and really any new introduction into the Galactic Civil War timeline, is the fact that we haven't seen or heard about them until now. Fortunately, I think the Lucasfilm Story Group and the filmmakers share my concerns because based on information we know so far, it looks like they're addressing exactly those points. Now, is it the end of the world if a future film introduces a new TIE variant that we've never seen? No, it's not. There were countless TIE fighters from the old Legends universe that were never seen in the films. But when I think about the Battle of Endor specifically, that was meant to be an all-or-nothing attack from the Rebellion where they threw everything they had at the Empire. Conversely, the Empire wanted to destroy the Rebels once and for all, so it makes sense that both sides would be using all the resources they had at their disposal. So when I see the TIE Defender appear in Star Wars Battlefront, I have two thoughts run through my head. First is joy at actually seeing an on-screen canon appearance, but second, where was it at the Battle of Endor? It's meant to be for the elite of the elite Imperial pilots. It should be present. So when I see the TIE Striker and the U-Wing and the Death Troopers, after getting over how cool they all are, the massive nerd in me wants to try to justify their absence in other films. So in this video, I'll be talking about those new elements from Rogue One and why we don't see them anywhere else in the original trilogy. Before I get started, let me say that technically all of these ships and new troops could easily be retconned into any of the films. For example, a short story places Imperial interdictors at the Battle of Endor to keep Rebel ships from entering hyperspace. We don't see them in the films, but they were there. A single line in a canon story can place TIE Defenders in the space battle and Death Troopers on the ground. But until that happens, here is my best speculation. First up, the U-Wing. Why didn't we see it in the Battle of Yavin, or stationed anywhere on Hoth, or helping to destroy the second Death Star? Well, its primary job is that of a troop transport. It has fighting capabilities and can fly out of atmosphere, but it's more comparable to the low-altitude assault transport from the Clone Wars. It looks like it's meant to deliver troops to battle and provide support, not dogfight. So that removes it from needing to appear in A New Hope. What about Echo Base in The Empire Strikes Back? That was meant to be a secret base. Once discovered, it was abandoned immediately. No need to deliver troops there either. Finally, the Battle of Endor. Again, it wouldn't fare so well in a space battle, but there were boots on the ground. So they could have theoretically been useful. But the ground strike team arrived secretly before the space battle began, and they used the stolen Imperial shuttle Tidarium. The need for secrecy makes the U-Wing irrelevant. So to me, the U-Wing is perfectly fine existing without having to play a part in any of the other films. I do think it would be cool to see it used in Rebels or other content. It probably would have fit very well into Battlefront Twilight Company. But as things stand right now, the nerd in me is satisfied. Next, let's stick with the ships and talk about the TIE Striker. This one is even easier to rationalize. It was built primarily for use in atmosphere, similar to the Snowspeeder. So immediately, that removes it from the battles of Yavin and Endor. It probably would have been useful on Hoth, but maybe they simply weren't built for such extreme climates. But also, they simply weren't necessary during the fight. We do know that they could operate in space, but why use them when you have plenty of TIEs made specifically for dogfighting? How about the AT-ACT? I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Their primary purpose is the delivery of cargo. It's the all-terrain armored cargo transport. We've never really seen the Imperial industrial machine in other films, so there'd be no reason to see one of these in the originals. Moving on to infantry, let's talk hover tanks and their pilots. We know we're going to see these on Jedha, so I do think they would have fit well on Tatooine somewhere. But there weren't insurgencies breaking out in Mos Eisley. Saw Gerrera is on Jedha, and hover tanks would offer some heavy firepower in return. Outside of Tatooine, I can't think of any other planet where a hover tank would be appropriate or useful. Not Hoth when you have the AT-ATs. I couldn't see them being very effective on the ground at Endor either, so that solves that. How about shore troopers? This is probably the easiest one of all. They're Baywatch troopers, meant for, I guess, beach environments. This one is weird to me. I think they look cool and all, but I'm not sure why they even need to exist in the first place. Why not just use sand troopers? I would say that shore troopers look a little better suited to the warm climate, but then why wouldn't the troopers on Tatooine be similarly outfitted? Anyway, there aren't any other beach planets in the original trilogy, so shore troopers wouldn't appear. Finally, let's talk Death Troopers. This is the one I'll have to speculate the most on. They have been described as stormtroopers that can actually hit their targets. They're elite troopers and part of Imperial intelligence. These guys definitely sound like they could have been useful during the Battle of Endor, so why weren't they there? I'm kind of banking on Rogue One answering this, but I'll throw out a couple ideas. Maybe they were just too expensive and time-consuming to train. The Imperial strategy seems to be quantity over quality. TIE fighters are cheap and expendable, as are stormtroopers. Maybe the Empire trained a few Death Troopers, decided it wasn't worth it, and stopped. And by the time of the Battle of Endor, all the ones they had trained had been killed. Maybe they're all on the Death Star when it explodes, but then we should have seen some of them during Episode 4. Maybe the squad we see serving Krennic are the only Death Troopers in the galaxy. Maybe they were an experimental unit he oversaw, and the idea will die with Krennic, assuming he does die in the film, which is a pretty safe bet. Again, as I wrap this up, this is me at my most nitpicky. When it really comes down to it, I'm just gonna sit back and hopefully enjoy the film for what it is. A new and different look at the Star Wars universe. All these small details really don't matter in the end, but this is a channel built around obsessing over the small details, so I thought this would be a fun topic to explore. If these things are never explained away, it shouldn't affect our enjoyment of good storytelling. What do you guys think? Do you have your own rationalizations for all the new things Rogue One will introduce? Or do you think I'm insane for caring this much? Let me know in the comments, and if you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, follow me on Instagram and Twitter, and check out my Patreon page. As always, thank you for watching, and may the Force be with you.